Hi, I'm Beverly Perrin Clark, and I have written a book. The name is AngelRavenWing2. Death is not the enemy, but a guide for our living. By the time I was 16 years old, I had 3 experiences with death. The last was my father. I was leaning over him doing CPR. And as my father died, I felt a bolt of energy and his spirit enter me. And I can tell you that through my own tragedy and my difficulty getting through that I didn't save him, there was also this understanding that I was to carry on some work that he had done. And it has informed everything that I have done to see beyond my personal tragedy, to see something bigger, not to dismiss what I went through, but to see it as in the whole. I didn't go into funeral directing, which was what my father was doing, but nursing spoke to me. And I spent 41 years as a nurse working in death and dying. 25 years of those was directly in hospice with children and adults. I can tell you that tragedy and profound beauty are part of the same spectrum, the same sentence, the same experience. And I saw how patients, how my clients traveled through what they saw, what they thought, how other people jumped on board to help or didn't, and what they learned. And this working in hospice was my life. That was everything it was my identity, actually. And around 2013, I had had a herniated disc in my neck. Now, during this time, I had been also in a shamanic apprenticeship, and I had been learning the ways of the spirit. So I had this herniated disc, had to take off time of work for a while. And actually I had been hit with a spiritual 2x4, but I would not stop. I would not settle down. I kept working. And a year later, I was broadsided. And all my symptoms came back in my neck and totaled my car. And I really clearly heard that I was being asked to retire and to do a different kind of service. And that is by a healer, is to be a healer. And so I embarked upon my shamanic studies, my shamanic work. And I also realized and learned and experienced that as I was learning a nature-based spirituality, I also held on to my Christian-based spirituality that I was born and raised with and practiced. I did not see these things as opposite. I saw them in alignment, and I saw them as parallel. And that was very important to me, to see that sometimes we have to unlearn a bit of what we learn. And as I embarked upon my shamanic journeying, I was able to meet people where they were and to honor every piece of them, as I did in hospice, what they brought to the experience and what they took away from not only their own healing, but their own tragedies, and help them to see the beauty that could be seen out of tragedy in their own time and in their own way. I didn't see that the nature-based practices and that the Christian-based practices, I didn't see them as opposite. I saw them as an alignment and parallel. And that was very important to me. This book is a series of short stories about death, about healing, about my own healing from traumas and wounds and codependence, from a traumatic marriage, from some abusive areas, and into healing, and helping people to realize as they're in these stories, they will see themselves in these stories in many different ways, and they will begin to realize and experience their own healing journey. And in that as well, they will feel and see and hopefully begin to embrace death not as the enemy, but as a guide for our living. I'm Beverly Perrin Clark. My book is AngelRavenWing2, and I thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of my proposal. Thank you, and bye.